My name's Richard Grayson, and I'm the curator of the Adelaide International exhibition, which is called Worlds in Collision. We're looking at 8 either bodies of work or projects of work by artists, all of which, in one way or another, talks about leaving one way of describing the world and one way of understanding the world, and sort of moving into another model, another idea, and sort of what that actually sort of means, how the imagination and the brain might sort of work at this. And in some cases, it's a little literal, often. For instance, we have a project called Second Moon by Paterson, where she's taken a very small fragment of lunar meteorite and she's put it in orbit around the Earth for a year using commercial jet courier companies. So in a way, you've got this sort of, it's like she's trying to construct a very small second moon, which isn't as high as our normal moon. It's only at about 30,000 feet, and it's not going round at sort of quite the same, it's not going round for as long, but it is traveling twice as fast, but it does sort of land every now and then. And then say you've got the Lebanese Rocket Society, a project by Khalil, Joreige, and Joana Hadjithomas, seems to document a rather wonderful moment in Beirut where a university professor and some of his students started their own space program and managed to actually launch some rockets into the lower bit of outer space under their own sort of efforts and their own steam. So that's sort of one side of it, and then another side is, say, a work such as Channels by Susan Hiller, which you can hear a bit in the background here, where she has collected an archive of people's experiences of near death. You know, that thing where you're on an operating table, it's the bright light, this, that, and the other. So you're going to that point there, and she's playing this back through 104 old TVs, which, you know, are set up to receive an analog signal, which is getting rarer and rarer and rarer. So you're getting to a point there where these people are bringing back news of sort of something, but you don't quite know what it is. So that sort of gives a rough idea of the sort of worlds which this project's looking at.
And is there a relevance now to people looking, for other potential realities or other kind of...
Yeah, I hope that there's a relevance to now, because what this project's hoping to do, both with the exhibition and with Artist Week, is also sort of make a sort of reference to that time where these sorts of concerns were last at the forefront of sort of the cultural imagination, which is like sort of the counterculture of the 60s. Because I rather feel that we're in a strange situation now where all the models that we've sort of been working by are sort of stuttering, or we don't like them, you know. So in 1989, communism fell to pieces, and then a couple of decades later, market capitalism seems to go boom. But it's not like there's anything else yet sort of coming out, you know. So market capitalism and the myth of the market is definitely a bit iffy, but nobody's quite sure yet how to move. So I just wanted to make something that made some sort of reference to the times that, in a way, there was an opposition, there was a counterculture, there wasn't an alternative. So my Worlds in Collision are hoping might conjure up some, alternative worlds, because I think we need some new ideas and we need some new myths, and some of these are not a bad starting point.
Seems like on one hand it's acid or it's psychedelia or it's something which is kind of like a psychotropic kind of dismantling or disintegrating of the world. Yeah. But on the other one, it's just kind of like looking in the it's almost like a post-structural kind of thing, where it's like looking in the face of kind of absolutes. Is there a continuing theme though in the way they approach? Is there an attitude?
No, they come in from different angles. I mean, even though it feels like quite a big show right now because this is the day after the opening, it is also quite a small show in a much it's only 8 pieces of work. So what I wanted to do is just put together a constellation of stuff. And even though I'm a curator, I'm not actually a total believer in the idea of curating. I just wanted to put stuff together. So I hope there's a strong idea-ish, but the idea is not the main thing. The main thing is actually just the work. You know, I've sort of done this partially with a curator hat on, but partially with a fan hat on. You know, this is stuff that intrigues me, that I like, and which I think is of relevance to a whole load of debates going on in art, going on elsewhere. Or if they're not going on, it might be an idea that that they did.
What's at the AEAF?
Actually, you know, you were talking about sort of how this sort of goes together. We've got two sides there, like two extremes bound together. One room, you've got works by Fred Tomaselli. Fred Tomaselli is an American painter. In his youth, his sort of big passions were sort of punk music, I think a reasonable amount of recreational drug taking, and fanzines and such like. And since then, he's also got involved in bird watching and kayaking. And he makes these incredibly luminous, beautiful works that are sort of very psychedelic. And they're about this sort of, the way that this sort of visionary buzz is on the other side of whatever, you know, sort of just on the edge of our reel. And then if you go in the other room, you've got Democracies by Artur Żmijewski. And this is like another archive work sort of thing. He's been going around Europe and the Middle East with a camera for about 5 years, recording demonstrations. So you have 43, this great line of 43 demonstrations, people shouting, people screaming, people angry, people crying. Some of the demonstrations, say, are for abortion rights, some of them are against abortion, you know, so they're all contradictory, and you have this great buzz of energy. And it's like the end of, you know, all these people are demanding something else, and they're being allowed to demand it by the fact that we have free speech underneath the ideas of, you know, rationalist enlightenment, thank heavens, or democratic such. But some of them are demanding the end of the right. You know, it's all these contradictions. It's a really spooky, like a really profoundly worrying piece, really, once you spend some time in there. Very powerful. So yeah, so that's, you know, so those two perhaps map another extreme, you know. So one of a reality buzzing and fizzing through a sort of subjective psychedelic thing, and another one of a reality, a political reality, buzzing and fizzing through like this excess of energy.